Please come up front. We have with us Ann and George Bergenthaler. Come up front. We have Hazel Cruikshank. I'm sorry, Ann and George live in Chicago. Hazel Cruikshank comes to us from California. We have Dottie Stogenton. Okay. She's also from Chicago. And we have Ethel Fox, who is Charles Fox's wife. She comes from California. And I'd also like to introduce Lucy Lehman. Lucy has been a friend of the family. She was Hazel Cruikshank's maid of honor, and she was likewise hers. So come on up front here, and go ahead and give you the microphone and let you talk to us a little bit.
I thought he said Fox.
Oh, you can come up, Lucy. There's room for you too.
All right. You want Lucy?
Yeah, you can come up.
That's what she asked me.
I first ran into Lucy Lehman, I guess about 5 or 6 years ago at the Waterloo Flea Market in Illinois. And at that point, we were just started buying some box prints, and she said, "I know those people." And I said, "You do?" And she started telling me the story about how her and Hazel were very dear friends and how she used to spend time with the family. And every month we talked a little more about Fox. Remember one month she had gone to visit some of the family, I don't remember who it was, so she brought me back some snapshots of oils that they have in their home. So it was quite interesting. Here, Ann, I'll give you the microphone and you can start things off.
That's great. One thing, Mark, I have a question to ask. That I'd love to make clear. And they talk about George White, Elmer Lewis, Wainwright. Do you all understand that any of those names were fictitious names because they had too many pictures of my fathers in their line, which consisted of like 12 for each month. And they couldn't have that with all our Atkinson Fox. So we had to come up with fictitious names. And I thought that might make it easier. I heard someone say, "I like Elmer Lewis very much," or "I like so-and-so very much." But I wanted you all to know they're all fictitious names. I remember that Brown Beagle did a series of the dogs. Well, they couldn't have our Atkinson Fox on January, February, March, April. So, Dad said, "That's all right, I'll do them." And he might send 12 to see if it was satisfactory. He might get 6 back and say, "It's fine, but we don't like this, we don't like that." So, that I want to make clear. Now,
Keep talking.
okay, that's so easy. One thing about my mother and father that I have to say, and that is that we were never spanked, ever, any of us. If we did something like slam the screen door, which my husband will say, even when you were a baby, you did the same thing that you're doing now. So, my mother would say, "I want you to go back, open, and shut that door 100 times. Then by the time you got to 76 or 8, you'd give it a hole. All over." You know, we sort of got used to what we have to go through. The only significant thing that I can tell you I did or told my dad, "Shut up." Well, that took care of that. He got a hairbrush and really gave me a swat. My father always wore a coat. Never saw him without a jacket, ever. The hottest day when he was in the studio he would be perspiring because we didn't have air conditioning then. That's what I say. He always had a jacket. Well, I got mad at him. And that's the days when men were all warm underwear. I just threw his jacket, threw his coat, and made it bleed. Well, I've never bitten anyone again. I think that's an all of interest.
I was too young to remember that. Daddy got sick when I was very young. Well, he painting on the leg. I was pretty young when my dad became ill, and I never saw him paint. The only thing I really ever contributed was paintings on the well, see, I don't remember. I must have been pretty little at the time I told us, because I don't remember any of this. That's about all I can contribute. I'll answer questions if anybody wants to say.
You do have a good fun.
You better know. Yes.
Speak in the mic. Use the mic.
Oh, I'm sorry. That echoes back and then I can't stand it. No, that's about all. What?
Extremely close family.
Yes, we were. Great brothers and sisters. Some of them were a little tomboyish. And some of them were a little bossy. And I was fine. She had you here. But that's really all I can say, and I'll let Daddy take over.
She dances too.
George.
I think Ann and Hazel said almost everything, except that Ann was extremely bossy. Hazel was the brat of the family. And I would go to the studio and watch my dad paint, and he'd come over with his paintbrush and put paint on the end of our nose. And you were trying to say the sink where he let us paint the pictures. He would wash his brushes every night, and we could wash him, we could paint a picture on the porcelain back of the sink, but we had to wash it off before we went to bed. And they asked Ann and they asked me what kind of mom and dad we had, and I said, nobody could have had a better one.
As you know, I'm not a Fox. I married Charles Fox, who was an artist. Followed his trade. He was a watercolorist. He never painted oils like his father. But I have numerous paintings of his at home. They were a marvelous family. 8 kids. I had the most wonderful mother-in-law. I only knew Daddy Fox for 3 years, and he was ill at the time. But they all had to dress for dinner. I never saw Daddy Fox without a tie and a shirt and his tweed suit, perfectly groomed. And he always had a mischievous look in his eyes, beautiful blue eyes. And he always wanted to paint, but he never got to it when I knew him. And I think it's wonderful you're all here. And Rita, I think she started this whole thing, and we should really give her a good hand.
Can I say a few words? Mrs. Fox is one of the nicest women I ever knew.
Maybe.
And she accepted me long before anything. I can speak loud enough. But I do admire these girls. They've been wonderful to me. When but I didn't know the brothers too well, but I can't understand how they could put up with all that. Because I have a few sisters, and I've never been able to defend myself against my sisters either. So I don't know how these brothers did, but they were a wonderful family.
I would just like to say a few words too. Hazel and I worked together in 1940. We became very close friends. And many times I spent at their home. Ate there, spent all night, a lot of time. And they always made me feel like a member of the Fox family. And I remember when Hazel and I would go to parties or go to people's homes before we were married, and we'd be in his house, and she'd sit, point up her hair, and go, my dad painted this. At the time, I don't know that I was that impressed. I would look at it, it was his hand, and I was impressed too, but when you're young, it's kind of a polite moment. But her mother always treated me as marvelous. In fact, at Christmas time, when she rubbed the year, she made you a robe, and she made me a robe and gave it to me for Christmas. And then I still have little sashes that she hand rolled and all by hand stitches that we used to wear under our collars with our blouses. And she was a terrific lady. She was very formal at dinner. She always served. I always remember Jack and Bill were home in the 40s. They weren't married at that time, either Hazel and I. Many a dinner we would sit in the dining room, and she would have the plates in front of us and serve. It was always a relaxed dinner hour. It was wonderful. I sure did love your mother. She was wonderful. But I didn't know RAFox because he had died 5 years before that I met. But I'm truly glad to be a part of this.
Could I tell a story about Danny Fox?
My husband tells a story about his father. He sat at one end of the table, and Mother Fox at the other, and all the kids were in between. And one time, Daddy Fox had his spoon in his coffee cup. And Mother Fox looked over at him and said, Bob, you might poke your eye out. And he looked at her, and he took the spoon, and he bent it over the cup and proceeded to drink the coffee.
Yeah, remember that.
Anyone, any